Welcome to Financial Discretion Advised. I'm Tyler Hafford. I have another co-host on today. Hannah's been on, I think, one of the podcasts when we did the team podcast, but I brought her back. Hannah is the COO for Penobscot Financial Advisors. She's also the mother of two, which is going to be very important for the conversation we have today. But Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Yeah.
Looking forward to digging into some of these parenting hacks and financial planning tools for parents.
For sure. And I know you're the CEO, COO of the company, but that feels like it's limiting in all the things that you do with the company. Do you just kind of want to let us know some of the stuff you do for PFA?
Sure. I get to do a lot of different things throughout the day. With PFA, my favorite thing is I pick out technology and help integrate different systems to optimize our process here. I get involved with writing procedures and ensuring that we're operating really efficiently as a team. I also do compliance for the firm and then sit on the marketing committee and get to do some web design work and making sure that our online presence looks like we want it to.
Yeah, Hannah essentially does all the things that allows the company to run. She heads up to kind of the ops sleeve of our company, and that side of the business is so important to making sure everything else works. She also lets me do this podcast, so that's nice of her. And I haven't upset compliance just yet, but we'll see. There's still time. So let's dive into these parenting hacks. And one of the most expensive things you can do is have a kid. Hannah's chose to have two. I've also chose to have two. So we've doubled up on those really expensive things. But let's talk about how can we be frugal and thrifty about this? How can we afford to have children, and maybe give some tips to listeners as we go. So I think let's start right at the beginning. Birth.
Sure. Right? I looked up and found out the U.S. Food and Drug Administration did a study, and they found that on average, a family of two, each child from birth until they're 17 is about $233,000 worth of expenses, and that excludes higher education.
Whew.
They are including the fact that you probably need a larger house or apartment to house said kid.
Yep.
But that is a really huge cost. None of these tips are going to make that go away. Having a kid is always going to be expensive, but we're just going to share some little life tips that if you incorporate these into your day-to-day life, you'll save nickels and dimes, and over time they can add up.
Yeah. And like any kind of financial planning strategy, right? You do the little things and they can make a big difference around the road. I'll tell you that my wife didn't run those numbers by me when she talked about having children. And we'll kind of get into some of the tools that can help mitigate some of those costs. But it's an expensive kind of thing. So let's dive into these things. So, all right. Getting ready, we're going to have the baby, the birth expenses. That's really where a lot of the expenses start, right? So we're looking at what does your healthcare cover here? What does that stay look like? Are there going to be, with my wife, she ended up having a C-section, so there was extra things there. What can we do in that space? Like, what are some of the things that we can be frugal about?
The first thing that you're going to want to do is get to know your insurance plan really well. Things you should be asking, call your insurance company and say, I'm doing family planning. Can you explain how prenatal, delivery, and postnatal expenses work for me as well as for the baby?
Right.
Find out your providers and see if they're in network and out of network. Things to ask are about your deductible and your max out of pocket, any special considerations with a hospital stay. So that's kind of like in preparation, learning as much as you can so you can make decisions to not be surprised later. Then,
well, that's kind of like having the baby in general, right? Not even just the finances. You should probably get a good sense about what you're about to get into. But yeah, sorry, didn't mean to jump in.
Oh, no worries. So then you know what to expect a little bit more, and that can certainly help. I know one nice little hack I did was both of my kids, my prenatal and postnatal delivery all happened in the same deductible year,
Ah,
which is amazing because I hit my deductible before delivery
yeah,
even, which meant it just felt like free money, like, oh, I just delivered a baby and I don't have to pay a medical bill
yeah.
surrounding that because I had an expensive prenatal time. So if, for example, you have a baby in January, that's a very expensive baby because you probably like just hit your deductible max out of pocket by December, and then January rolls again and all of that resets.
Yeah.
So you're almost double paying if you have a
Depending.
prenatal delivery over two different deductible years.
Right. And one of these things to take a look at, right? So every year you get to choose which healthcare plan you want. A lot of companies are going to give you an option between a higher deductible plan, which is going to come with a really nice HSA. And then there's going to be another plan that's a lower deductible, which tends to make a lot of sense if you do visit the hospital regularly, you got medications, those types of things. Well, if you're doing some planning and you know there might be a baby on the way, maybe the high deductible plan isn't the one you go with that year, right? You take the lower deductible plan, covers more of those expenses. You might come out of pocket a little bit less. I know with my wife and I, we did a combination of this. I have a high deductible plan. She has a low deductible plan. Really helped with the birth. I've been saving in an HSA, which we'll get into, which is one of the great financial planning tools here. I was able to kind of pick up what her insurance didn't. Combination of those two actually made it somewhat reasonable, right? It wasn't just a huge expense right at the moment. So great kind of ideas there. And before we get out of leaving the hospital, is there anything else in the birth side of things that we should cover before we start bringing kids home?
Well, I'd say probably the next step is to bring the kids home.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to start to get bills. You're going to get a lot of medical bills because, the anesthesiologist does a charge that's different than your room and board. And you have bills and your brand new baby has bills too. And you're charged for rooms, but you're sharing the same room. And there's, it's wild, the bills that you'll get. So I would say let the bills start to trickle in and then take one night where you look at them.
Yeah.
You start looking and seeing, go line item by line item. I know a lot of parents who say, we never sent our kid to the nursery. They stayed in our room, but we had like a $1,000 nursery as if we had sent him away for the night to be cared for. And so once you start to get a handle on all of those bills, going line item by line item, call the provider and say, hey, I need to speak with a billing specialist. Let's talk about this. In my scenario where I met my deductible and it was all covered by my insurance, I wasn't, quite as specific with that. But I know if you're paying for this, you want to ensure that what they're billing you makes sense. And a lot of times it's just a bundle of like, oh, you got the baby cart and you got this, you must have had that too. So making sure that where you can, you're eliminating some of those expense items.
Anytime you're going to spend a lot of money, you want to take a look at what you're spending your money on, and take a look at that bill and make sure that it is what it is. You wouldn't buy a car and have them throw a bunch of options into the price of it, and then you just, well, that's all right. I didn't need the screens in the back seat, but I'll pay for it. So I think that does make sense. You should review those things, and just make sure that it all lines up. This is going to be something you spend a lot of money on. Let's not spend more than we need to.
And then discussing a payment plan. If you don't want to, do that upfront expense right off the bat, you can set up payment plans and they'll let you pay like $10 a month from now until eternity.
Yeah, they are pretty flexible about it. Mostly I think it's because they have so many people that don't end up paying their bills that they're like, whatever you need to do to get money to us, we'll be okay with it. So yeah, definitely don't feel obligated or burdened by that. I guess you can set up a plan that works for you. All right, so we get kids home. They need stuff. You mentioned this, right? That some of that cost goes into needing a bigger home and things like that. Someone told me before I had my first daughter that when you have a baby, it shrinks the size of your house by 30%. I laughed at that. I was like, yeah. They were wrong because it shrinks your house by more than that, I think. So you need stuff, and you need, clothing, cribs, bassinets, baby swings, toys, all those things. What can we do? I feel like you don't just need to run out to the store and empty, run up the credit card, buying all these things. Where should we start?
Yeah, so I'd say what I did was I asked moms that I know what they had and what they liked. I had the benefit that my sister-in-law had 2 kids before me.
Yeah,
So I
well
asked
played.
her,
Well played.
what did you use? Oh, you loved that? Oh, you're not using that anymore?
Yeah.
So I had the benefit of getting a ton of great hand-me-down items. And my first was a really cranky baby. And my sister-in-law said, I have 6 different baby swings. And I'd take 2 at a time and try them out to see, is this the magical thing? Because especially when sleep is involved, I feel like parents end up spending money because they're desperate and tired. I found out that of like the 8 different swings that I used or attempted to use, none of them worked, but I got to try it free.
Yeah.
So I wasn't out hundreds of dollars on each swing. So I'm a big fan of hand-me-downs. We do hand-me-down clothing, a lot of toys. We're like the youngest kids on the block for our neighborhood.
Yep.
So we get hand-me-downs from neighbors and from my sister-in-law, and a lot of it is lightly to not even ever used with the tags on.
Yeah, it's awesome. So the hand-me-down method is fantastic for a couple of reasons. One, you hit it. Not every baby likes the same thing. Anyone who's listening to this, got multiple kids, knows this. Anyone who's about to have a kid is about to find out that what your friend's kid like, your kid's not going to like. And like you said, anything that allows you to sleep just a little bit more is worth trying. So anyone who has stuff that you can try it. Just see how it goes. Maybe your kid will love it. I know that my wife, we're having our first baby. We found, I think it was the Mamaroo or some really expensive swing. She was like, oh, we're going to get this. Both of my kids hated that swing. And it was one of the most expensive things that I've purchased when I had the kid. So definitely try those things out. You made a really good point there. Additionally, with clothing, new parents are going to want to get these certain little outfits and do all these things. That's great. Do that, go crazy. But the majority of the clothes that your kid's going to wear, going to get ruined. Doesn't matter. They're going to spit on it. They're going to spill on it. They're going to do all those things. So don't feel like a hand-me-down is a bad idea with clothing. It ends up being a great thing. And then once you have your kids, you're going to be looking to people to dump the clothes off to anyway. So yeah, great place to start.
And consignment shops for kids stuff are all the rage. I know in Southern Maine, we have like Lots for Tots, Sweet Repeats, Goodwill. Facebook Marketplace is another really good resource for buying kids things secondhand. A lot of times you'll see like size 2 girls summer clothes, and you'll get an enormous Rubbermaid bin for $20. And it's all the clothes that they'll need, and they're just going to outgrow it. Right. So, the only place I've seen this breakdown is 4T pants for boys. So my son is now in 4T, and his cousin who's older he was rough on the knees of the pants, so they all have holes in them. Yeah. And then anytime I've gone to Lots for Tots and looked for that size, it's like, nope, 4-year-old boys will make the pants have holes in them. They're just gonna
ruin it. Yeah. I'll tell you, I have my daughter's in 4T. She doesn't ruin it at the rate that boys do. So that might be a benefit for girls, but there's plenty of pros and cons to that comment.
And another plug for Facebook Marketplace, Bob's strollers. Like, these jogging strollers are so expensive, but they're really nice. And I like to run, so it was important to me. I found a Bob's stroller single, which retails at $550 new. I got it for $100 when my first was born. And then just through running and having my neighbors see me as the crazy mother runner of the neighborhood, one of my neighbors said when I was pregnant with my second, hey, you know what? I have a Bob's double stroller that I don't need. Do you want this? Wow. And it was like the clouds opened up and there was a beam of light down from heaven. It was like the greatest gift I could have been given, because the Bob's Double stroller retails for $750 and I
Ooh.
got it for free 99.
Wow. And I think you're hitting on something here that's really great too. If you are a parent, you know this. If you're going to become a parent, you're going to find this out. Parents are all going through the same stuff, and it's like a club. Like they want to support you because they've either been there or they're about to go through it. So you are entering this club of folks. Don't ever hesitate to come to them and be like, geez, have you been sleeping? Like, what's going on? And all these things, because it's going to open up this whole conversation. People are going to love talk about their kids, and then you're going to find out they have stuff that they bought and they never used, and now their kid's too big or can't use it, and now it becomes your stuff. So yeah, don't shy away from the club you're about to join here.
Yeah. And I will say there are times when splurging makes sense. And one of those is car seats. You're not supposed to take or use previously owned car seats.
Yeah.
Car seats are a really sensitive thing. They expire every 4 to 5 years, I think. If they've been involved in a car accident, they're no good anymore. They're good for a single bump, like fender bender, and then
Yep.
they're done. So anytime it comes to safety, like, safe sleeping, helmets, or car seats, I'd say, maybe get the sale of the new item and shop that, but definitely when your kid's safety is at risk, spend the money.
Yeah, and that brings up another good point too, is sometimes if you're online trying to get a deal on a car seat or whatever, make sure you check if it's still in line with safety regulations, because those do change pretty frequently. And the car seats are constantly changing because of that. So just make sure that what you're buying, it might look like a really good deal. It might be because those safety precautions have expired. But yeah,
like the recalls on the sleep surfaces are a very sensitive thing with newborns. So checking for any recalls on those. And if you turn whatever object it is upside down, there's going to be like a date, a model number, and you can search online for that.
Yep. So yeah, it's splurge when it comes to the safety of your kid. Don't splurge like my wife did, who bought every pair of Nike out there for an infant when they don't walk. So yeah, definitely pick and choose where you want to spend your money, and that can make a big difference for you. But there's some things in life where people are just going to bring you stuff for your kid, right? So baby showers, birthdays, and Christmas. How do we maximize those situations? Because I love when people bring me free stuff.
Totally. And one thing that I like to put out there is being open and honest with your family and friends on what you need. Our house isn't enormous and I'm a bit of a minimalist. So if we get a whole Christmas haul of toys, we're going to end up donating some of them because it gets to be too much.
Yep.
So I've let my family know, here's an Amazon wish list. And a lot of times it has educational things like kind of those construction building block items or books or materials for learning and development. We put snow gear on every Christmas. It's snow pants.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Mittens and boots. And honestly, kids losing mittens, I don't know where they go, but you will lose a mitten every week of this winter, I feel. So that's one really practical way. Your grandparent or the child's grandparents want to do something. Hey, they love playing in the snow. That would be a nice thing.
Yep.
Or my son's birthday is in August, and I put things like a little bento lunchbox and a sleeping mat. School supplies will end up there, backpacks. So things that that they'll need and they'll use. Also, I feel like the parents know what their kids into in that moment. So Magnetiles, oh my gosh, kids will play with Magnetiles forever, but they are pricey items. So if someone's looking to splurge on your kid, put that on your list for sure.
Yeah.
And with the baby shower, I was really specific on what I don't need. I said, we have clothing. We have all of our clothing needs are met. So, you might see that cute thing and want to get it. Like, that's fine for one outfit, but we don't need 10 outfits.
Yeah.
And then I also plug the 529 college savings plans,
Yeah.
saying we have college savings accounts set up for both kids. And if you'd like to contribute, I can give you information on how to do so.
Yeah. Really good one. And I'll get into 529s here at the financial planning strategy side of things. But yeah, great opportunity to get folks to pay for one of the really expensive things that comes with kids if you're going to help with college. But I think that's good. Let people know what you're looking for. As someone who's been to these or buying things for these, I want direction. I want to know, right? There's things that I think, oh, geez, your kid would love this. But like going back to my last point, your kid's not going to like what my kid likes. So knowing what you need. I know we've gotten to the point where we have so many toys, birthday parties and things like that. We're getting to the point where we're just going to ask folks to bring books, say thank you. Kids love the books. We can read or whatever, but we just don't need extra toys at this point. And now I'm becoming that parent looking for someone new to say, geez, you want some stuff? We got stuff, and get it. Because you're right. If you're not putting it out there, you're going to get a bunch of stuff you don't need, and you're just going to end up throwing it away or giving it to someone else or things like that. So I like that. Be open and honest. All right. So the next thing that we're going to spend some money on is really expensive for everyone right now, but it's food. Got to feed the babies and the kids that they tend to eat and poop a lot. What can we do there? What are some strategies to save some cash?
Yeah, well, first of all, your newborn baby is going to either have mom's milk or formula. And I know nursing is just a big time suck for moms and can be really frustrating. One thing that kind of helps me is I think I just saved my family $1,500 this year, because that is about what the cost of formula for the first year of life would be, is $1,500.
Yeah.
Things that help with the cost of feeding your little through breast milk is insurance covers 1 pump per year for nursing mothers.
Yep.
So that is completely free of charge through your insurance. And if you have a second or end up nursing for longer, you can apply for one every year.
Yeah, we end up getting 2 of them. I'll throw a little, actually, I'll let you kind of do this as well, because you're going to have a little bit more input than I will. I know that the first time we got, I think it was the Modelo pump that plugs into the wall. The second time, my wife got one that you could charge and be portable with. Really like the charging in the portable one.
Yeah.
Mostly because those wires tip the bottles over after you've filled them up. And I learned that lesson a lot, mostly because I spill a lot. But yeah, I'd love for your opinion on that. If you want one way or the other.
So I have one of each, actually. With my first, I got the Spectra S2, and that one has a battery, so you can charge it and take it on the go. You're not plugged to a wall, reliant on that outlet. So that was really handy. And then my sister-in-law gave me her pump when she was done with it. And this was like an awesome hack for working moms, is that I have my home pump and my work pump. So I don't have to carry it. Like, I felt like I needed luggage just to get to and from the office. So that was really handy. And then, we did a road trip and I was pumping in the car really easily and things like that. So I would say go for the one with the built-in battery. Yeah, that was pretty handy. And then I'd like be walking around pumping with it and not having to like sit there and wait.
Yeah. And I think my wife told me one time that breast milk is just gold. Right. That's the gold. And you want to kind of build up a supply of it. And I remember our freezer full of breast milk all the time. But even if I don't think you can pump too much, right? You can't have too much of this stuff.
Yeah.
I know that in people actually who are having trouble with nursing would ask my wife for extra milk, and there's just kind of a market out there for folks that need some breast milk. And that's something you can use it for, right?
Yeah. So I have donated directly to individuals before, but I recently started donating to the Milk Bank of New England. And so I donate there, and in exchange, they actually give me a ton of supplies. They give me the little bags for freezing it,
Oh, wow.
sanitizing bags and other items, kind of as a little perk there.
Nice.
And the milk from that milk bank specifically helps kids in the NICU. So, mom's milk hasn't come in yet, or there are health issues, and just the ability where I have a surplus to say, okay, I can, help out another family's child with that is
Right.
great. And then also there are for-profit milk banks where you can, if you want to make a dime, or it's actually, I can't remember what the price is. I used to always say street value of my milk. My freezer has X amount of ounces. I have this much money in milk. So you can sell it as well. I just opted, I want my freezer cleaned out, so I'll donate.
Yeah, and doing something nice. I think there is a big market in the bodybuilding world for breast milk.
Yeah, there, every now and then these bodybuilders infiltrate a mom group, and you're like, why does this guy need breast milk?
Yeah. We don't have. That's probably a totally different podcast, but there are options if you have enough of this. And if you are on the other side where you don't have enough milk, there are options to get help and find some. So, all right. Baby starts to eat actual food. This is where most of your clothes are getting ruined. How do we handle that? One, our food system right now for adults is difficult to find good things to eat because we're just packing it full of stuff you probably shouldn't be eating. Baby food's no different, right? We have a gamut of good stuff and bad stuff. How do we figure out what we should be feeding? Or how do we do it affordably?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I found is my frugal parenting kind of partners really well with my hatred of plastics.
Yep.
So, what I try to do is eliminate single serving items that have single plastics involved as well. So you get the little 3-ounce jar of sweet potatoes for your dear little baby that's learning how to eat. It's going to throw 90% of it on the tray on the ground in their hair. That 3-ounce jar is $1.05. You can buy a 1-pound sweet potato for $1.60.
Yeah.
And so what we did was we just made our own baby food, and usually it involves steaming vegetables and then pureeing them.
Yep.
I joked with my mother-in-law, she got us for our wedding present, or maybe my bridal shower, a really nice blender, and it used to make really fun blendy drinks, like like frozen margaritas, and then for a while it was making really healthy smoothies. And then we had kids and it was making baby food. It was kind of like the life cycle of the blender, from like the really fun frozen drinks to baby food.
Well, then they become toddlers. You go back to the margaritas.
Yeah. And smoothies. We do a lot of smoothies for Isaiah.
Yep.
So by making our own food using that blender, we were avoiding a 3 to 4 times markup, like 300 to 400% more expensive to buy the single one. And it gave me some sense of control too over what my child was eating. I know that had peas and apple in it. I know because I took an apple and I took peas and I cooked them and blended them. So that kind of met those 3 needs. Like, I want my kid to eat healthy, I don't like unnecessary waste, and I'm a little bit cheap, or I don't want to spend money I don't need to spend. And then Isaiah grew up out of needing baby food and into needing packed lunches for school, and that was our next chance to try and avoid the single serving items. There's a product I really like. It's called a HAK Silicone Pouch. And, like you see the kids with the little pouches of, whatever puree or smoothie. It's the same idea, but it's a reusable one. I take yogurt, I make smoothies, applesauce, and whatever that item was that was going to be in a single serve, little yogurt dish or whatever. We just put it into this little fun, you slurp it down, just like the food pouches.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I know yogurt in general, my kids love like the pouch of it or whatever it is. And we try to get it, and we try to get something a little more healthy than, like a Dannon or just something that's just loaded with sugar. And they're incredibly expensive, and you get like 4 of them.
And the options are so limited, so that like Stonyfield organic kids item, you get a 4-pack of those for $5.29, and it has a lot more sugar. It has, the ingredient list is huge. We can select, okay, this is the whole milk Greek yogurt with no added sugar that we want for our kid,
Right.
and put that in a pouch instead of being pigeonholed into like, you put kids on it and you double up the sugar.
Yeah.
And so again, having a little bit more control over the ingredients and options there. And it's, it ends up, it's a 400% markup for the yogurts and the apple sauces and those types of things.
And it's crazy. And if you're listening to this thinking, my kid's never eating plain Greek yogurt, one of the things that I like to do is I'll take like raspberries or blackberries, pop it in there, mix it up, gives it the sweetness, gives it some taste. They feel like they're getting something, and it's not just packed with added sugar, right? Really love that idea. And actually, I'm going to look at getting some of those, because we do spend just tons and tons of money on those little pouches, which are fantastic. Because if you have a toddler, you really don't want to hand them one of those cups of yogurt, because that's going to ruin everything.
In the car too. Oh my gosh, car snacks.
Yeah. Or before bed, which is always something we need snacks and things like that. So yeah, really, really good one there. I want to go back to your idea of making the food yourself, knowing what's in it. We did a mix for a little while. We were trying to find the really healthy baby foods and the ones that have just had, all ingredients just for convenience, and then ended up moving into more of what you're talking about here, where we're making your own. But one of the things I found is that the variety that you can do at home of things that you puree is much broader than what you're going to find in the product at the store. And my kids were more apt to try different foods because we were being a little more a wider spectrum on the foods they were getting, not just bananas and sweet potato every time, right? So I do think there's a good benefit there.
Yeah, we had a big beets phase where Isaiah really liked. We did beets with applesauce.
Yeah,
and it looked frightening. There were a lot of like beet stains, but that just was exposing him to that food and that flavor, and getting his palate used to a variety. I feel like baby foods all taste the same when it's not like that apple just made this food.
Right. Yep. Okay. So we're making our food. We're saving some money there. We're using some reusable stuff. We talked about splurging in the department of like safety stuff. Is there a place to splurge when it comes to food and what we're giving the kids?
Yeah. So for me, with the grocery bill, if produce, meat, and dairy end up costing a lot, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
What I don't want is to get a bunch of frozen pizzas. I see this as an investment in my child, like their health and wellness. And so we try to get pretty clean meat, and there are like a lot of farms around where you can get a really nice chicken pot pie, or Zach's parents always get like half a cow that they split with the neighbor. So I think meat's an important one, trying to get food that is closest to food.
Right.
Like I always say, like, your food should look like food. Like, oh, that's a sweet potato and there's a pea, and these are things that I know and identify, and they're not the chemicals that I can't pronounce.
Right. And this is big for anyone, right? You should be eating actual food. And there's a lot of studies out there that shows that the additives, preservatives, added sugar, all these things that are going into food really affect human behavior. And we see rises of ADHD and kids acting out and extra energy and those types of things. And they can be directly linked back to the diet of the child. So splurging in this makes sense. 1, for the health of your child. 2, for the mental health of your child. 3, for the mental health of you. Because I know that if I give my kids sugar, 20 minutes later, they want to kill each other. this is a place to me where it makes sense that if you have room in your budget to splurge, to take care of your kids and take care of yourself, I really think that you're going to go a long way with creating harmony within the home, because everyone's going to be on a level kind of emotional basis. So I agree with that. And then the vitamins. I know that we do like the troll vitamins or whatever, just to get something into my child, because as they get older, they get a little more picky on what they're gonna eat.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to make sure you're covering all your bases. All right. So food comes in, and then it's got to go somewhere. This is a one I remember before we had a kid. Everyone was like, "Jason, cost diapers." It was like keeping me up at night. Like, I'm just gonna spend so much money on these diapers. A little bit of a insight on that. It's not as expensive as I guess I thought it was going to be. It's, we still have a home. I'm not living out on the street because of it. But there is some ways to save money there. So talk us through where can we save money?
So one thing is, if you're going the route of disposable diapers, don't ever think, oh, I'm just going to buy like these 3 bulk boxes of diapers. Because what's going to happen next is your kid will not fit into those diapers. Right. It will be like a tiny little Speedo and there'll be a lot of messes.
Yes.
So knowing your kid's growing at an alarming rate. So
Yes.
Don't like go all in on size 1, or don't get too many newborn. A lot of babies are born already too large for newborn diapers. At least mine are. Mine were both 9-pounders.
Yep.
Then there is this other route you can take, which I've done, which is I do cloth diapering, and we're kind of a hybrid. If I'm going out, if we're out and about, I use a disposable diaper.
Right.
But often we're using cloth diapers at home. I had the benefit of like try before you buy again. My sister-in-law did cloth diapers. She said, I have a newborn stash. You can use these diapers and figure out if it's something that works for you.
Yep.
It's not going to work for everyone because it is work and it is kind of gross.
Yep.
But I ended up on my baby registry having cloth diapers. So my friends and family bought me diapers. And I think the average household would end up spending about $120 on getting your cloth diaper set up.
Yep.
And then you save about $900 a year as a result.
Yeah, it's like I said, it wasn't crippling. We were disposable diaper family. That's just where we decided we're gonna spend the money here. Fully aware that is not the best choice for the environment. We try to offset that and be as good as we can. This was one area where we didn't, but anyone who is kind of sensitive to that, remember that cloth diaper is always gonna be the best option here. But I like your idea. At least try it, right? We tried it. We were saying, all right, is this going to be something that we can do? Just didn't end up being our kind of way, but we have plenty of friends that wear is perfect, right? It's just fit their lifestyle. I also like your hybrid idea. If you're going somewhere, bring the disposable diaper. The majority of them are going to be at home, right? You're going to be taking care of that. So yeah, definitely a good way to save some money, save the environment, at least explore it. Don't be closed-minded to that idea. All right, so let's talk about some other places to splurge here. 2 big expenses you're going to have. We already talked about one is college, and I'm going to get into some of the tools for that. But childcare, so expensive, but nothing you want to cheap out on, right?
Yeah, I would. So as far as daycare, preschool goes, you want to be sending your kid to a place that you feel comfortable with. If a place that I love is $25 more a week than a place that I don't love, it's worth it to me because I'm a working mom. My husband is a working dad.
Yeah.
And I want to feel good while I'm in the office knowing that my child is cared for. So I wouldn't go like budget discount, creepy basement for a childcare solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You want to find somewhere. Comfort for you is really important and comfort for your child, but you just hit it. You're going to have to go to work. And that is something that if it's going to weigh on you, that's going to ruin every day. It's going to be something that you add to your plate. It's going to add stress to you. So, you're almost paying for peace of mind, and there's a lot of value in that. I know we always talk about value in dollars and cents. I think there's other values out there, and paying for something can give you that. But there are some tools to help you pay for daycare to make it a little more affordable. I know this is one that we've started to use here at PFA, but FSAs or flexible spending accounts can pay for daycare, and you can do it on a pre-tax basis, which allows you to really save some money on paid daycare. So if that is an option for you in your kind of work plan, explore it. You're going to spend this money anyway, right? We were talking prior to this podcast. You're spending this money. If you can do it on a pre-tax basis, you might as well do it. On the other side of the FSA, there's the HSA, and that's your medical expenses. This is something that, and I know we talked about it in the last podcast, so if you missed it, go back. Jim and I really break this down. But an HSA is going to be something where you have a high deductible plan, and you can put this money pre-tax into an HSA, health savings account, as long as you take the money out for qualified medical expenses. Comes out tax-free. It's the only account that lets you go tax-free in, tax-free out. Really helped us through the birth of both my children. I was able to save in that account. You can use it on your family, so I can use it for my wife and my kids. Is that something you guys utilized, Hannah? Yeah. Really, really good kind of way to save for medical expenses, because you're going to have them, and then your kids are going to be going to the doctor, right? So the first year, all of the years, I guess, but I felt like in the first 2 or 3 years, we were at the doctor more often, having regular checkups, doing vaccines and all those things. Those all come with copays and bills and things like that. So having that. And then for college, the 529 plan, and you kind of talked about this, and you use that on birthdays or holidays to say, we're saving for our kids' college. Throw some money into the bucket for us. Those college plans, really good. What we're doing here is we're putting after-tax money in. The money is going to grow tax-free in that account. And as long as you pull it out for higher education expenses, so college, books, things like that, it's going to come out tax-free. It's like a Roth IRA, except for college. But anyone can contribute to it, just like Hannah was talking about. So if you have a family member who wants to give a gift, give the gift of a college education. That's fantastic. That can contribute to this plan. If you live in Maine, it gets even sweeter. So the Alphon Foundation very generously has grants out there where they'll help you out if you're going to do this. So if you have a child born in Maine, they're going to give you $500 if you open up the account. 500 for baby is the website. They should give you something at the hospital. Check into it. Free money. One of my favorite things. If you put $1,000 into those accounts, they're going to match up to 300 of that every year. So if you're putting your money in and investing it, regardless, you're making 30% because they're going to give you $300. That's great. Little incentive there. They also will give you $100 for setting up automatic contributions. And I think there may be a couple other out there. Nextgenmaine.com is where you'd want to check these out. You can set up accounts really easily. I'm trying to think of the ABLE accounts, 529 plans. So this is an account where maybe you have a child that's dealing with some type of disability, and you want to save for things like education, but not just education, anything that may improve their life down the road. Works just like a 529. You're going to put your money into it. It's going to go tax-free as long as you use it for the qualified expenditures that come out of that account. But it is a great way to save for things that can be really expensive down the road. Tax-free growth obviously is extremely valuable to all these things. So Hannah, I want to thank you for coming on. Really kind of cool discussion. Mom of two, you bring a really good insight to this. Hopefully people got some ideas on how to save some money, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, write anything in the comments. If you have a good tip, we'd love to hear it. So make sure to share. Thanks.
The foregoing content reflects the opinions of Penobscot Financial Advisors and is subject to change at any time without notice. Content provided herein is for informational purposes only and should not be used or construed as investment advice or a recommendation regarding the purchase or sale of any security. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Thank you.